Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of the Shishir Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to today's Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, verse 31. And the chapter is entitled, Maharaj Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmin Boy. And we are very happy to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami with us. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to you and Shri Prabhupada.
Yes, Mataji, we did 31 yesterday.
Oh, I apologize, Marge. That's the verse that Srimati gave me. I apologize, Marge.
I did 2 verses yesterday. That's why.
Oh, okay. So we're doing 32 today. So today is verse 118:32, and we are in the discussion where Marge Parikshit puts the dead snake bird, on Shringi, and he was wondering if the Rishi was really in trance or ignoring him or whatever thoughts, and that's the part that we are in. And without further delay, we will have Marge take over the class. Hare Krishna, Marge.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasya putra tikeksha svihi viharam balakor bakai. Rajagyam patitam tattam shrutvam tatredam abravit. The sage had a son who was very powerful. Being a Brahmana's son, while he was playing with inexperienced boys, he heard of his father's distress, which was occasioned by the king. Then and there the boy spoke as follows. Purport. Due to Maharaja's Parikshit's good government, even a boy of tender age who was playing with other inexperienced boys could become as powerful as a qualified Brahmin. This boy was known as Shringi, and he achieved good training in brahmacharya by his father, so that he could be as powerful as a Brahmin even at that age. But because the age of Kali was seeking the opportunity to spoil the cultural heritage of the four orders of life, the inexperienced boy gave a chance for the age of Kali to enter into the field of culture, of Vedic culture. Hatred of the lower orders of life began from this Brahmana boy. Under the influence of Kali, and thus cultural life began to dwindle day after day. The first victim of Brahminical injustice was Maharaj Parikshit, and thus the protection given by the king against the onslaught of Kali was slackened. Omagyan timidandasya ganajana salakaya chaksun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swam Padadikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapade Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganad Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganad Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Paeva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here the scenario is played out, and Kali was looking for an opportunity to, what we say, upset and spoil the natural social and spiritual, social and religious patterns that govern a cultural and a developed human society, which is the Varnashram system. Four Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, the four ashrams, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. This is the foundation for a human society. One is religious, and the other one is what we say foundational. It's a work ethic. That is and Krishna says, Chaturvarna Mayastrusya Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. Krishna himself speaks in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the person who has established these four, what we say, spiritual orders and four working orders. And so with this foundation, then spiritual life can develop nicely. When the Varnashram system is thrown in different ways, then people adopt any kind of occupation. And rather than being a contribution to society, the society's direction changes towards individual profit. And that is the situation we have today. It's all about individual profit, and it's all competitive, and who can get the most out of the society from working others or from exploiting nature. They are considered to be by material standards successful. But it's not success, actually. It's because it's defeat, because human culture is not meant for exploitation or for exorbitant amounts of profit based on using other people to facilitate your needs or your desires, rather. Here we see how when this infiltrated into a particular age, this was the indication that Kali was making his attempt to upset. And it's interesting to note that when deviations come in to a pure system, then unless it's removed, that deviation will continue to spread and push out the purity and eventually become the standard activity of the human culture. And this is what happens. So this is also very important for devotees to understand this principle, is that in our Krishna conscious execution, we should make sure there's nothing in our activities that will cause us to, what we say, fall in Krishna consciousness or to impede our spiritual practice. Everything should be done properly with the right attitude. And if anything negative comes in and it's allowed to stay in, it will grow and become the dominant principle. And that happens, and then that becomes the standard, and then the standard is no longer there anymore. And then people develop another standard, which is the wrong standard based on individual exploitation or individual, what we say, profit. Of course, exploitation is a type of way by which people profit. They exploit people, they exploit the earth, like that, and then they consider that being successful in that way is profitable and is success in life. But here we see that this situation happened because Maharaj Parikshit's government was so good that even an inexperienced boy could become as powerful as a qualified brahmana. When purity is there, then everyone benefits from that purity, and the quality of one's endeavor in a certain direction brings about quick and perfect results. That's why just like they say, if you have one bad apple in a bag of apples, then that will spread and all the apples will become bad unless it's removed. And if you have one pure devotee in anywhere in the world, that pure devotee can purify the whole world. Even if he doesn't travel anywhere, he can still, by his presence and by his pure devotion, spread his devotion simply by his presence. We see that in ordinary activities too. When a very powerful and a very influential person enters into an area, there is a change in atmosphere simply by their presence. We see that when certain great devotees would come into a place and all of a sudden everything would become uplifted simply by their presence. Devotees speak a lot about that when Srila Prabhupada was present, and everything was, when we say Vaikuntha, nothing, there was, although there might have been challenges, Prabhupada's presence and his purity would make the challenges into, what we say, opportunities to spread Krishna consciousness. And that is the greatness of a great soul. And sometimes you could even feel on a personal level their presence electrifies the atmosphere and causes everyone to feel happy and enlivened and peaceful also. So Shringi was only 12 years old He was trained by his father in Brahminical activities and Brahminical principles, and he adhered to that very successfully. And by the quality of the atmosphere around him, he became very powerful. And therefore, but he misused his power. And this is where we see it here. And what was the result of this misuse? Hatred for the lower orders of life began with the Brahmin boy. Prabhupada expands on this in different lectures. He says that the Brahmins in India were not allowing the lower classes, especially the Sudras, the same facility to worship. And because they weren't given any rights nor facilities for worship, they were marginalized and pushed out. Prabhupada goes on to explain that even if a Brahmin would walk out of his house and he would see a Sudra, he would come in back and take a bath. And if a Sudra walked into his house, he would cleanse the whole house with cow dung. And this led to the proliferation of the Islamic culture in India. Whereas these Hindus, lower class Hindus, were not allowed any rights because of the Brahmin class or those who considered themselves in that category. They thought, well, we have no rights as Hindus, and they were being offered money to convert to Islam. And so from that, Prabhupada says that the Islamic culture, society in India increased, tremendously because of the pushing out of the Brahmins, of the lower classes like that, and not giving them a chance to have not only social rights, but even religious practicing. So this all happened, or it was instigated and initiated by this pastime here, which was really at the time of the beginning of the age of Kali. Krishna had already left the planet, which was already a sign that Kali was now making his move to spread his influence everywhere. But Maharaj Pariksit stopped him and restricted him, and where he couldn't do anything. But then he found this opportunity to use it in a little Brahmin boy, and that because that wasn't checked, then gradually it spread, and then what we have today is what is called the caste system. The caste system is an abrogation of the real culture of the Varnashram system, which caste means if you're born in a certain family, if you're born in a certain culture, you're seen according to those designations that bring about your birth. Whereas we find in scripture, it's not about janma, birth, it's about karma, activities. So when one's activities are in line with Brahminical activities, even though they may be born in a Sudra family, they have to be considered to be Brahmins because of the activity and not so much of the birth. And Narada Muni makes that point in one particular verse, that symptoms or characteristics of the individual are the means by which one can classify a person accordingly, and not simply by birth. And we find that even today, that people who are born in certain families, they consider themselves that particular, what we say, they may have that nature because of being born, but it doesn't, unless they actually act on that nature. Just like sometimes we see devotees are born in Brahmins families, but they take up the occupation of Vaishyas and Sudras. They get jobs to make. Brahmins don't take occupation from anyone, probably same topic, before they actually work for anyone. So we might consider ourselves in that category, but if we are taking occupation from the for Sudras or people who are in the lower, consider ourselves to be in that high principle of Varna. Everything is based on characteristics like that. That's why there's that one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9th chapter, Data Hunam Palinda Pukasa, Sambira Ava Ambira Sambhaya Kasadaya, Yene Pasraya Sudanti Prabhavishnave Namaha. That these names, Kirata Hunam Palinda Pukasa Ambira Samba, these are classified as lower white races which are below the Varnashram system. But if they come in contact with the pure devotee in the Lord and take up devotional service, they are no longer designated accordingly to their particular birth. They are considered to be Vaishnavas and not simply designated by bodily identification or by birth, either one. So, yeah, this is, and Srila Prabhupada's movement, as he has established it, was to bring about the Varnashram system back as the foundation for society. When he first began, he was very enthusiastic and he preached very regularly about establishing Varnashram Dharma. But then he saw that the social order was so topsy-turvy that he could not possibly do it, or no one could actually do it. There was no education, there was no training, there's no evaluation system, nothing. So Prabhupada later on applied the same principle within the ISKCON society, where he wanted devotees who were working in a particular service according to the nature of that service to be designated like that. In other words, some devotees would be doing Brahminical work, some devotees would be doing Kshatriya work, some devotees would be doing Vaishya work, and others would be supporting in different ways. Therefore, you have that system, but it's not Varnashram, it's Daivi. Daivi means spiritual Varnashram, wherein people, devotees can work according to their proclivities. Now, a training period is also required in order to bring out a person's characteristics and abilities, talents, skills. And Prabhupada wanted us to have a Varnashram college where we can teach people Brahminical activities of management and fighting, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, how to do commerce, banking, and farming, and taking care of animals. So Prabhupada wanted that. Well, unfortunately, it hasn't really developed beyond a certain point. There is some effort going on today to bring it about, and it looks like something may manifest in a more actualized way soon, but there's not enough emphasis on that, and that's what Srila Prabhupada pushed. Said establish these Varnashram systems, and he said you can only do it on the farms. It cannot be done within the cities. And so these, although Varna and ashram is material, it's foundational for the practice of spiritual life. And devotees are working in different ways, or might we say serving in different ways. Some of them are actually serving according to their natural propensities, and others are not. Therefore, there's still an imbalance in the system within the society. And those who work according to their natural proclivities actually do quality service. And those that don't, they do service, or they may have to be trained in order to work in a certain way, but they find themselves not excelling so much within their activity because they're more inclined to other activities like that. And when money or finances enters into the mix, then everything becomes what we say exploitative. That money becomes the goal. In other words, preaching is good if it brings in money, but if it doesn't bring in money, then we have to change the type of preaching in order to facilitate bringing in money. Or whatever money or whatever preaching we do should bring in money, and if it doesn't, we have to adjust accordingly. But that's not Prabhupada's program, nor is it Krishna consciousness, nor is it practical. It is practical in the sense that it's not sustainable. If money becomes the means by which we operate our temples and by which we do everything, then we are no better than persons who are working in the material world. Although it looks like devotional service, it is more like fruitive activities, which are devotional service in the mode of passion, which really causes what we say people to become inspired and uninspired based on the results. But Prabhupada said, if you preach Krishna consciousness, money will automatically come. You don't have to try to bring it about in any other way. It will happen. Because Prabhupada says, management follows preaching just as a shadow follows the person. Well, that's a direct quote from Srila Prabhupada. So if we're in a preaching mood and we're thinking of ways to expand Krishna consciousness in different ways, money will come, people will come, and the facilities that we need to manage will automatically come. Preaching is the direction by which the society develops in all aspects of itself, because we are a preaching movement. We came to spread Krishna consciousness and not simply to join a spiritual movement and feel good, flip some chapatis, and have a nice time on Sunday with our Sunday feast program, go home and feel good. And that's not our movement. Our movement is to make some sacrifices to reach out to the conditioned souls. So our temples, our yatras, our programs, our books, our farm communities, everything we do is meant to be done in a way to bring in more and more conditioned souls into the process of devotional service and to educate those who are already in to become more and more involved in preaching activities like that. Well, this is our movement because Kali is spread so far, so widely already in this age that it's hard to find any good qualities in people nowadays. Everyone is more or less interested in gaining something in their material activities or even in their spiritual activities. We should be detached, and we should simply serve in order to expand the movement and to purify our consciousness and to become what we say free from all personal motivations other than assisting Lord Chaitanya in his movement of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Marge, for such a wonderful class. I'm going to stop sharing and request devotees to please turn on your videos wherever possible, and so that we can have each other's association. You can put it in the read it. Raj Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna, Raj, please accept all obeisances of glory Prabhupada. Maharaj, you said at the beginning that we must be extremely careful to not allow any of our actions that are unwanted to creep in because they will grow. And how how can we identify these unwanted things that may creep in because they may be at a very subtle level or in disguise. We may not recognize them.
Well, they're mentioned. There's a particular verse that it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the purport, it lists as all of the. It says when you plant a seed into the ground, you have to make sure the ground is fertile, so the seed will grow. But that's not enough. You have to bring in the watering process, and you also have to give it some sunlight. And even if you do all of that, because there may be other, what we say, plants in the area, they will also get watered, and they will also get sunlight, and they will also grow, but they're not the original plant. They are the weeds that grow up around the plant. Sometimes we call them creepers. And they can also choke out the original plant. Just like you see, sometimes there's a tree, and around it there's a vine that's wrapped around it. That vine is living off that tree. Because and then that tree is its own nourishment is becoming sucked out by this vine. If there's many vines around that, then that tree will eventually die. So in the same way, when we water our Krishna consciousness, and what is the watering process? It's chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. You can expect that the weeds will also grow up. Pratishta, puja, various types of weeds that are mentioned in the scriptures. The desire for name and fame, the desire for position, the desire for material gain, the attitude of being advanced in spiritual life, where one sees themselves better than others. All of these are kinds of like weeds that can grow up. But just like we might say that we have the four regulative principles. So we follow them as given to us by the spiritual teachers. We don't adjust them. We don't say they apply to time, place, and circumstance and candidate. They apply across the board. When we get involved with trying to change them or add something to them or take away from something, then we're adding this little deviation which can grow into something even more, what we say, dangerous or sinful, and become an obstacle in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, one should, as Prabhupada used to say, we should strictly follow the instructions given to us by the spiritual master, by Krishna through the scriptures, and by those who are in authority to apply these principles in the day-to-day life in our temples. And if we don't, then we could be subject to these, what we say, subtleties that might creep in, thinking that they're all right. I don't have to follow a codicy, well, I don't have to, it's too difficult. We come up with little things that may seem to be innocent, but can lead to something more dangerous. One of the most dangerous things is getting association with non-devotees in a more regular way. This will lead to us developing certain characteristics that are promulgated in material life and seeing those as being important or as equal to whatever else we do. So one of the dangers is non-devotee association. When affects a person practicing consciousness, and by developing an affection, we also develop some of their values, some of their activities. That's one way that things can creep in and become ultimately. There's an old saying, in like a needle and out like a plow. We use that in a positive way. They say when devotees want to preach, they go in very subtly and gradually present Krishna consciousness. And as they get in, then they expand on it. Same way, Maya will also do that. She'll come in like a needle, and then after being left in there for some time, she'll come out like a plow. And one of the ways that she does it, she makes you think that your chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is not so important, or is less important than everything else, or equally as important. She'll give you these subtle hints. You don't have to be so enthusiastic to chant. Yesterday you chanted nice rounds, that's very good. But today you got so many other things to do, so we push our rounds off to later in the day, or we push them off to the next day. Or we're not reading Prabhupada's books regularly, therefore we're not getting inspired. Intelligence is not being inspired in devotion. So yeah, subtle things I'm just giving some ordinary examples that happen quite regularly. One has to be careful. We strictly follow the process as given. And look out for these subtleties that can creep in.
Hope that
Thank you,
helped.
Marge.
Very nice.
Very.
Marge, there's a question in the chat by Mohanasini Mataji, and she said, Guru Maharaj, you said that Brahmana should not work, but what to do in case a Brahmana would like to marry? How should he earn his bread for the family?
You think there are not devotees who are Brahmanas who are not able to maintain their families? There's so many. First of all, we've plugged into the Western culture, and therefore we adopt their value system, and then we Brahminical system because we need to somehow maintain. So the best thing you can do in that situation is, if you have to work for the outside, and Prabhupada didn't want that. It was a compromise principle that he had to accept because that's the way the culture was aligned. He wanted us to get away from that and become self-sufficiency within our society. And so he's given us like so much instructions on how to do that. And the basic thing is to, develop these farms. And that way you don't have to work for the outside, or learn how to become work aside from having to go to the office every day or outside. There are so many things. There are many people who during the lockdown a few years ago couldn't go to work anymore. They found different ways to make their to make ends meet by developing certain characteristics and traits like that. So yeah, Brahmins are meant to give knowledge and guidance to the rest of society, not simply become ordinary workers. What's the use of being a Brahmin if you're not following the principles of Brahminical life, The best thing you could possibly do, and this is still within the realm of compromise, is that you give a portion of your earnings to the temple, the yatras, to devotees, to the preaching forces, like that. That's the best thing you can do. But ultimately, Prabhupada's vision was to gradually pull back away from society and create a society that was somewhat self-sufficient. And it can be done. It takes time. It's gradual. But we're used to our materialistic lifestyle, having a nice car and computers and so many things. And and we think it's a necessity because everyone else is doing it. They say if you lose your money, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. If you lose Krishna, you lose everything. You lose your money, you lose nothing. You lose your health, you lose something. That's a statement by the Acharyas. You lose Krishna, you lose everything. It's a complete loss. So we're so much attached to this idea of making money and having material things. And that's our problem. We struggle in order to keep that going, and we marginalize our time and energy in spiritual life. I know many devotees who live outside, they have families, and they don't work for anybody, but still they have generated incomes simply by their own, using their intelligence. I know one husband and wife, they simply cook. And then the husband goes around and he initiates people to accept and he does this food thing. So they cook and they bring food to different people and they make a profit like that. That's just an example of how using your intelligence you can get away from working from the outside world.
Thank you, Marge. I hope that helped, Mohan. Yes, she said, I understand. Thank you. That's fine. Thank you. Any questions from devotees, please do raise your hand, or you can put it in excuse me, you can put it in the chat and I'll be happy to read it. Marge, a phrase that caught my attention in the verse where Srila Prabhupada said that the inexperienced boy gave a chance for the age of Kali to enter into the field of Vedic culture. Does that mean, Maharaj, or is inexperienced devotee, or does it mean that one who is immature or inexperienced will not be able to see Maya creeping in? Is that what that phrase mean?
Obviously, in this case, that's the situation. Yeah. Yeah, he reacted. He didn't know anything about the situation, only that his father was apparently offended by this Kshatriya. And he overreacted, you might say.
So, can we be very careful?
Curse a person like Maharaj Parikshit to die for this slight little, well, you might say, deviation in proper etiquette behavior was way beyond. It was a punishment that's not meant for such a slight deviation. And you'll go on as you read the few verses. He wanted to show off his Brahminical powers to his friends too. He became proud that he had powers, and he misused them. Power is a gift by God and should be used for the benefit of others, not for one's selfish interest or to cause harm to others. Power is meant to facilitate wonderful things that can happen within society that will benefit people, and not something that is used to destroy people or just to show off one's power, you know.
Maharaj, so how can we, as practicing devotees, really be careful to not think, oh, you know, because sometimes we come across situations like you mentioned, and I really like this point, Marge, that we have to make, what's the point? I made a note of it. Make sacrifices to share a philosophy. And so how much can we as practicing devotees really not be so puffed up, as we say in ISKCON, the ISKCON lingo, you know, I'm initiated, you know, I'm a Vaishnava, and then do nothing and that to make sacrifices. Like, how can we develop that mood, Maharaj? Because that seemed to be, you know, sometimes in pockets, quite a bit of pockets hanging out there.
Well, you have to think somebody made a sacrifice in order for me to become a devotee. So there is a kind of like, well, I should somehow reciprocate and do also something to help others. It's just a matter of gratefulness. Be grateful for the benefit of having the opportunity to engage in pure devotional service, which is a very rare opportunity. It's not given so easily. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it easily available, and Srila Prabhupada spread it everywhere. So we should be grateful. And gratefulness is shown not simply by, doing nothing or just sitting on the benefits of the what we receive. No. To share what you have means to allow your whatever you have to grow into something even more. If you try to keep it, in time you will lose it. So not only sharing it is good for you, others, it's also good for you too.
So Mars, the point for us to think about is, are we grateful for Prabhupada's sacrifice that he made for us?
We should think like that.
Yeah.
Are we actually doing something to show our gratefulness? And if we're not grateful, then we don't understand what we have actually received. Well, we haven't taken advantage of what we received, and therefore we don't understand that its benefit. To think, to get an opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, to achieve. We've been in a material world for millions of births, having to undergo so much suffering in different species of life, birth, death, disease, and old age, continuously for millions and millions of births in different species, sometimes in the higher planets, sometimes in the middle planets, sometimes in the lower planets. That whole cycle continues. Here's an opportunity to get out and to return back to our natural position as being eternal servant of the Lord in the spiritual world. How rare a gift is that? In fact, only in Kali Yuga, in this Kali Yuga, is it given. It's not given in any other age because of the presence of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's made it available.
Thank you, Marge. Very deep point of gratitude. Thank you so much. Marge, there's a question here by Nashringa Leela. Dear Guru Marge, please accept my humble obeisances, all good Shri Prabhupada. In a seminar about criticism, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami said that to correct someone, one has to have a position and culture. he was using this example of the young Brahmana. He had the position but didn't act from the platform of culture. Could you please expand on that?
You mean explain why he didn't act on the position of culture?
I think that's what she meant, Mamaj, because she ended by saying, but didn't act from the platform of culture.
Well, he was the king of the world. He was the pure devotee of the Lord. And so he didn't even recognize or didn't want to recognize the position of Maharaj Pariksit. He wasn't an ordinary person. His character was exemplary. His position as ruler of the world was unchallenged. His qualities were, known by everyone as being exemplary, both devotional and material expertise. He had everything. And so this boy, he didn't even consider that. He just cursed him to die. And there's no culture there. You're on mute.
Marge, is that the point that we sometimes hear, the culture of respect that was lacking?
Yeah, obviously. He wasn't just a Kshatriya, he was the king of the world and a devotee.
Very nice question, Sringalila Prabhu. Thank you. Any other questions from devotees? Somehow, Marge, what I'm hearing from, what's coming to my mind from this class is the importance of Vaishnav etiquette and sadachar. Can that be one of the key points, Marge?
Yeah. I mean, Maharaj Pariksit apparently broke Vaishnava etiquette by acting the way he did. But it wasn't such a big thing. But Shringi overreacted and went beyond the proper etiquette of a Brahmin. Curse someone is a very, what we say, how can we describe it? To curse someone is like, you could destroy that person simply by that curse. Devotees also have to recognize that they also have power. So we should also not misuse the power we are given. When you engage in devotional service, you have the power of the parampara behind you. So devotees also have to be careful how they behave. So not to misuse that power, but to use it in the right way. If a devotee is offended, rather than becoming angry or envious towards that person and trying to retaliate, a devotee tries to forgive and move on. That's a devotee.
Thank you, Marge. Really deep points, food for thought. I'm sure many of us here can agree that we got a lot of thinking, food for thought to do.
Prabhupada would say a devotee doesn't even have any bad wishes against his enemy. Prabhupada said, if someone makes you an enemy, but you don't make that person your enemy. That person is acting wrongly, therefore that's his bad qualities or his mistakes. But if you act as his enemy, then you're acting in the same way.
Thank you, Marge.
These are subtle points on how Vaishnav etiquette plays itself out in different situations. Shringi could at least have investigated the situation, because later on he didn't. Later on, you'll see that Shamagris, his father, was really astounded and unhappy and quite bewildered by what his son had done. And he chastised him also for that. That'll come up in the upcoming verses.
Powerful verses, Marge. Yes, Manisha, please go ahead.
Thank you, Majesty. Hare Krishna Maharaj, we accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, I want to know that when we meet someone, what should we say to them so that they become convinced that Krishna consciousness is the only way to get out of this material world? And I also wanted to know that when you meet with new people, what you say to them.
What's the second question? I didn't hear that one.
I wanted to know that when you meet with new people, what you say to them.
The newcomers, the new people, she said. What do we say to them?
You make them feel welcome, comfortable. You thank them from coming. You allow them to enter into the atmosphere. It's not about preaching to them. It's about welcoming them a chance to associate. Adao Strada Sadhu Sangha. Preaching will come according to situation. People don't come to get preached to. They come to get an experience. They come to meet some nice spiritual people. Make them feel welcomed. That's all. That's the beginning.
I hope that helped, Manisha.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. Marge, I remember a comment made by Radhika Raman Prabhu, the scholar. He was giving a session at the GBC College, and he was saying that how important it is that we make new people, newcomers feel very welcome, like you said, but also come to their level to make them feel comfortable and warm so they'll keep coming and be their friend.
What's the last word you said? I didn't catch
Make
it.
them feel comfortable and warm so that they will keep coming.
Yeah, that's the
and
idea.
be their friend. Yes.
Yeah, they'll say, oh, these people are nice, so they'll come back. And devotees are like that. They care. It's not that we put on an act. It's just devotees are like that.
And I think much like you said, is just in time, just associating or, being with them or making them feel comfortable and welcome. The preaching will just happen within the conversations, a little bit at a time, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preaching is you give classes, you give seminars, you speak the philosophy, you speak the practice there. People ask questions, then you can answer them. What most important is that they should feel that these people are nice and they have something to offer.
Yes. Maharaj, if you will allow me to share an incident that we experienced here a few years ago. There was one young boy, probably in late teens, no, about in the 20s, and he was very interested. And one person, rather than he did make this guy feel very welcome, very warm, very this and very that. But from the beginning of the what you call it, from the first time he came, the first time he ever came, this person was already giving him Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, like really shuffling the philosophy. After 1 month, he left.
He wasn't ready for that level.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
the art of preaching is the art of understanding how to deliver the message.
Mhm.
There's an example where Prabhupada was, not Prabhupada, it was some lady who, this is a story that I've told numerous times. One lady, she came, this was back in the old days when the movement was quite new. And she came to one of our temples and she was dressed with mini skirt and her hair was up and she was full of makeup and she came into the temple and the devotees felt that she shouldn't be in there dressed like that and looking like that, so they told her, you can continue to come, but please, you shouldn't come like that. And so she didn't like that, but anyway, she came back again and she came back the same way. And the second time, they also told her a second time. And this time, she became a little bit more disturbed. She wasn't about to change, but she wanted to come because she had read some books, and so she was a little interested. So she came again, and this time the devotees heavied her out, and then she decided, well, I'm not coming anymore. And then right after that, Prabhupada came to the temple, and she found out, so she thought, I'm going to go meet their teacher. So she came back, and Prabhupada had just got on the Vyasa sign. He had just come, and she came walking in, same way, mini skirt, all dressed, like that. And Prabhupada saw her, and he looked at her and said, oh, thank you for coming. You look very nice today. That was Srila Prabhupada. And this melted her heart. She sat down and, her hung on to every word that Prabhupada said. And later that night, she actually came to the devotees and said, if this was what pleases you, and she took off her makeup and everything, and she came back to to a more simple type dress. She did that just to please the devotees because Prabhupada, he just softened her heart. He welcomed her. And he wasn't just doing that as a tactic. He saw her as a spirit soul beyond her, external appearance.
That's a beautiful pastime, Mara. It's so sweet. Prabhupada is such like any loving father and grandfather, right? So sweet.
Yeah, he wanted everyone to come to Krishna consciousness. He knew that if you stay in Krishna consciousness, after a while, you'll develop all good qualities. You can't expect that when you enter into the shower, you're already clean. It takes time.
Mhm. Beautiful pastime. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Marge. It's so nice.
Yeah, that's a classic one. And
Oh,
there's other things, There was this one, Indradumna Maharaj tells the thing, what was his name? They gave a nickname for this one hippie that was coming to the temple. I forgot. Uh, he would hide out in the bushes when the devotees would pass in Harinam, and he would jump out. And then he was like, I forgot. It's a beautiful story. Indradumna Maharaj tells the whole story. How, you know, and he would never bathe nor change his clothes. So his aroma wasn't so pleasing. And then he would come to the temple, and the devotees would try to get him out as fast as they could. Forgot what they called him. They gave him a nickname. So one day, Prabhupada was there, and he came, and he ran to Srila Prabhupada and fell at Prabhupada's feet. And Prabhupada just rubbed his head, started rubbing his head like a father rubs the head of their child. Prabhupada showed him so much affection. When the devotees saw that, they changed their attitude towards him. And then after a while, he stayed. They gave him a bath, gave him some clothes. He eventually joined and started going out on Sankirtan and became initiated devotee. Yeah, you can read that story. I just read it recently for the second time, and Indradyumna Maharaj writes about that.
Marsh, where can you find that pastime? Like in which, do you know?
Yeah, it's just go online and find Indradyumna Maharaj's website. And
Okay,
it's it happened in France.
okay. Then we'll
Yeah.
just Google that part.
And I forgot, they gave him a nickname when he was in that somewhat less presentable state of appearance. I forgot what they called him.
So,
Hare
Silpesh, go ahead, Silpesh Prabhu. You
Yeah,
said something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I believe it was called Pig Boy. Pig Boy.
No, it was a one word. I forgot what they called him. It was somebody who doesn't not the exact knowledge.
It's in front. We will Google online for that pastime thing. That's a beautiful pastime.
That happened, way back in the 70s.
Wow.
If I find it, I'll send it to you on.
Would love to have it, March. Yes, please.
Yeah, that's a long pastime too. And how he actually took the Sankirtan after a while.
March, that pastime also, Kushakrata Prabhu was also amazing. What would Crazy Peter, I think is what they used to call him.
Yeah, Crazy Peter.
It was amazing pastime.
Later on, he was writing, he was translating the words of the acharyas and writing books on it.
Maharaj, that's so amazing, Maharaj. Like, like someone who was like almost like a hobo, and Crazy Peter, and then he became one of the topmost translators, like Hare Krishna.
Well, his books are, he put out over 200 books. You can get copies of that now still. It covers all of the Acharya's works, practically, not all of it, but some good part of it. Yeah, what was it? Giriraj Swami remembers him when he was Crazy Peter. He would just lay down on the floor, like sprawled out sometimes. I mean, usually we think, these people shouldn't be there, but if you give them a little chance and you see that they're ready to make some change, then it's worth working with.
March, I think nowadays, like I somehow come across situations where sometimes devotees are fearful to give a chance to someone like that. But we know so many beautiful pastimes that Srila Prabhupada gave innumerable, chances and opportunities for such souls, and they just take up to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, many examples. But there were those who didn't want to change, and after some time they were not allowed to associate with devotees again. But then those who had that little spark, Prabhupada would look for that spark of bhakti in them and try to fan that spark.
Beautiful pastimes. Thank you so much, Marge. Beautiful pastimes. Anyone else has a question to ask, please do raise your hand, or you can put in the chat. Going down the list to make sure that I don't miss anyone who has their hand risen. If there isn't anyone, Marge, would you like to end with a round of chanting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to look for that pastime when
Would love to have it, Marge. Yes. Thank you so much, Marge.
you send it out, and then
Definitely. Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
I've just posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
what was his name? The nickname they gave him.
Pigpen.
Pigpen, that's right. Yeah, they called him Pigpen.
Pigpen.
That's right. Yeah, Pigpen. I didn't hear you the first time. I thought you said something different. Yeah, that was a nickname.
Pen. Interesting.
Devotees could be a little heavy sometimes.
And the names are weird. I'm just trying to think. Pigpen. Now, what does that actually mean for someone who jumps off from the bushes once? I'm trying to like figure out the connection here.
Well, his personal aroma wasn't, like incense.
Oh, okay, Pigpen. Okay, I got it now. Okay, okay. Now it's coming to my mind, Marge. Okay, Pigpen. Okay.
You're way beyond all of these lower statements, so
I'm sorry, Marge.
Did you, Silpesh, did you post the whole story?
Yes, I posted a link to it.
Oh, okay. So you got it.
Yes, Marge, we do have it now.
It's a beautiful story. How it ended too is amazing. Okay. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Take the flower down. Hare Rama Hare Krishna. Put it in front of the enclosure. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. 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 Oh, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Sorry for that sleepy japa.
It's all right. Maharaj, just hearing you chant, Maharaj, keeps us focused. I know that for myself. So thank you so much, Maharaj. And thank you to all the devotees for joining us. Vanchakapatibhyascha, Kripasindabevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
His Holiness Candramauli Swami ki jai.
Thank you very much for today's class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Yes, Guru. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare. Hare.
Thank you, Guru. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna devotees.
Hare Hare. Bo. Hare
By the way, I think I first read that story about pig peg in Your Ever Well-Wisher. I think it's in there as well.
Oh,
That's my recollection. That's where I first read it, but I'm not sure.
but I'm glad you shared it, Prabhu, because that's a beautiful pastime.
It is. It is.
It's really, really, it's so nice to see the power of Shri Prabhupada's mercy on everyone. It makes us think, at least for me, it makes me reflect on myself, how can I at least, take a little bit of that lesson and be open to everyone, like kind of a reflection thing. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Really nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.